Welcome back, everybody. This is day 2 of the Heartmath experience, and we are going to dive into learning about today the science of the heart, which that left side of my brain is so excited about. So join us for that. We also mentioned yesterday that the series may be 3 videos in length, but what we're finding is that in order to give you a more comprehensive experience, it might go a little bit longer. So we will just say at this point, we don't know how long the series will be, but join us for the fullness of it and take what you wish from the journey. It's very, very exciting. All right, Kim.
Thank you, Stephanie. Again, okay, so we're going to jump into the science of the hearts.
Yes, your biological heart is doing more than you may have imagined. In recent years, neurocardiologists have made an exciting discovery. They found that the heart has its own independent nervous system. This complex system is referred to as the brain in the heart. It sends signals to the brain that are transmitted to the amygdala, the emotional processing center, to the thalamus, which synchronizes our cortical functions and affect our higher brain centers that are responsible for clarity of thought and decision-making. The brain also sends signals to the heart, mostly to raise or lower our heart rate. But when researchers look at the information traffic in the body, it's clearly seen that the heart sends a lot more information to the brain than it receives. Brain function is critically dependent on this information. Heart and brain are in constant communication. The heart is doing most of the talking. Here's another interesting scientific fact. The heart is an electrical organ, producing by far the strongest source of rhythmic bioelectricity. This energy goes to every cell in your body. Your heart produces enough electrical energy to create a magnetic field surrounding your body in 360 degrees, extending beyond the skin out into space, measurable about 3 feet outside your body.
Magnetic fields contain information. We imprint our own magnetic field through what we're actually feeling, the emotions that we're feeling. But then it gets even more interesting. It's like, magnetic fields relate to one another. They exchange information. So how is my field affecting your field right now and your field affecting mine?
And a great analogy for this is cell phones. The way this works is our phone is generating an electromagnetic field, in this case, and the magnetic field is carrying that information, or voice, right, or the photo, or the text message, whatever. So when I talk about the magnetic field of the heart, it's the same thing. So we can fairly easily measure that not only are we radiating these magnetic fields, but our nervous systems are tuned to these fields and receive information from others. So what this means is that there's a very real energetic or magnetic communication system going on between people all the time. And another part of the reason I think the understanding the energetic communication that goes on between people is so important is in miscommunication. And one of the greatest sources of stress between people is when we might be saying one thing, but our field is saying something else. And that leaves them with a disconnect or a confusion, because our words said one thing, but we might have been sending another signal through our energetic system.
When our heart-brain-body communication is working well, we can enter a state of being in sync with ourselves, a state of higher coherence. So what is coherence, and why is this important? Coherence is a healthy, measurable state. The term refers to the cooperative alignment between heart, mind, and emotions. Higher coherence is good for us. It's a healthy state that regenerates us. It directly contributes to increased emotional balance, stability, access to intuition, and improved mental functions, such as the ability to focus, mental clarity, bigger picture thinking, memory, improved reaction times, and coordination. Coherence is often triggered by an experience of regenerative, uplifting emotions, like those long associated with the qualities of the heart, such as love, care, kindness, appreciation, and compassion, and it helps us generate more of these heart qualities. Coherence can be measured using technology that measures the beat-to-beat changes in the rhythmic beating patterns of the heart, like Heartmath's Inner Balance Trainer. This is called heart rate variability analysis. It's a measure of the naturally occurring beat-to-beat changes in heart rhythm. It serves as a critical method for gauging human health.
Coherence is a broad term in that it embraces many things, like synchronization, entrainment, and a lot of other terms that we use in physics. But coherence always implies that the parts of a system, like within our body, for example, are communicating. There has to be communication, and that those subsystems, or different parts of our body, are working together in a harmonious and energy-efficient way.
Well, coherence is something that's called actually medically psychophysiological coherence, which means it's both physical and it's psychological. Physically, what's happening when we're in a high coherent state is all the major body systems are synchronized to an ordered rhythmic beating pattern of the heart. That's things like respiration, digestion, immune system response, hormonal response, and brain function. They all sync up. And when that happens, it's a very healthy state. And it's also a high-performance state. You know, all the systems are working together well. Less energy is being wasted. Reaction speed times improve. Visual field changes. All of that happens when we get in this high coherent state.
So that improves not only our mental functions, but also our autonomic nervous system, which controls 90% of the body's involuntary functions, from hormonal to immune response, to how well we sleep, digestion. If we can get all those systems in sync or coherent, then we have better health, better wellness, as well as more clarity and better connections and feelings with ourselves and others.
So we can navigate through these stressful external situations with much greater ease and composure, so that what's happening in the outside doesn't cause us as much stress because our internal systems are in sync and in coherence.
Now, here's the psychological part. Coherence is naturally triggered when we are experiencing a regenerative, uplifting emotion, like the qualities of the heart. When I'm more appreciative, I'm going to be naturally more coherent. When I'm being caring to someone rather than judging them, I'm going to be naturally more coherent.
It's really the body's natural resonant state. And love, care, compassion, these heart qualities are what are like oil for the system. They help create that state.
Stressful emotions create a chaotic heart rate variability pattern, lower coherence. Incoherent heart rhythms created by our emotional responses start to shut down some of our higher thinking capacities. This can cloud our judgment, ability to discern and make good choices. Sustained regenerative emotions create a smooth and ordered pattern which indicates high coherence. When people are feeling sincere, regenerative, heart-based emotions, such as love, appreciation, and compassion, their heart rhythm pattern naturally becomes more coherent. These coherent heart rhythms send signals to the brain that open up our higher brain functions. We get smarter. You see, your brain is a big winner when we're coherent. Practicing heart coherence for even a few minutes lifts your vibration, making it possible for your heart's intuition to inform your attitudes, discernments, and choices. You don't have to walk around in perfect coherence. The carryover effect gives you enough operational coherence to support balance, emotional poise, and flow in your day-to-day communications and activities. You can reboot using a heart coherence technique anytime your energy starts to drop during the day. Through this experience, you will learn how to shift from incoherence to coherence and gain better health, mental clarity, and the ability to feel better emotionally. It's not as hard as you might think, and in the next chapter, you will learn a simple technique that will help you make this shift anytime, anywhere. Now, let's experience more heart connection and increase your coherence. Howard Martin will lead you through the quick coherence technique.
I'd like you to bring your attention and awareness to your heart, to the center of your chest. Now imagine your breath is flowing in and out through your heart or chest area, breathing a little slower and deeper than usual. Just find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. Putting your attention around the heart area helps you center and get coherent. As you continue heart-focused breathing, make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. Perhaps you can re-experience a time when you felt love or appreciation for a person, a pet, a time in nature, an accomplishment, or just breathe the attitude of love or gratitude. As you're doing this, you're increasing your coherence level. Your nervous system is synchronizing. Hormones are being released into your system that regenerates you. Signals from your heart to your brain are moving through your emotional and higher brain centers. This opens the door for you to experience more uplifting emotions and access to intuitive insight.
You've just experienced the quick coherence technique. You can shift to your heart and do it anytime, anywhere, eyes open or closed. The steps we just did are heart-focused breathing, activate a positive, renewing feeling. Quick coherence activates our heart qualities, such as care, compassion, and gratitude. If you can't feel one particular heart quality, go to another one, while continuing heart-focused breathing to energize the heart quality. This starts to release the neurochemicals that lift your system, clear your mind, and increase wholeness health. We suggest you practice the quick coherence technique several times during your day. It can be especially useful to restore balance and flow when you're feeling stressed or overloaded. Another good time to use it is during transitions, like before meetings, before going into work, or when coming home. An especially useful application is before important communications, like phone calls, emails, or when needing to speak to somebody about a problem. This can prevent a lot of stress to have to clean up after. The Heartmath tools you are learning will help you uncover your own capacity to create a new reality that is best for you. With the quick coherence technique, you strengthen the attributes of the heart, such as love, appreciation, care, compassion, breathing in these qualities of the heart and imprinting them into your intentions for health, performance, better communication. Once you get your system focused in heart coherence, this is the optimal time to envision what you want to change for the better.
And honestly, I really just sort of bask in this amazing feeling as I'm going along and linger in this place. for a long while because it really feels great and it really sets my tone and the pace for what I'm going to create in this day. And this is how I practice the quick coherence technique.
Just throughout my day, I find myself breathing into my heart's area a lot, and I catch myself. I'm always amazed at how often I'm tense, as much as I go through the world pretty happy and joyful and optimistic. I'm just not activating that part as often as I would like. So every time I reconnect, I'm like, oh, okay, right, this is my home state.
I like it because I can do it on the fly, I can do it in the moment, but I can also do it to prep for some of those events that might be triggers for me. And not always the dangerous situations you might think of in the field, but even dealing in my career with maybe a boss that was problematic or traffic when I lived in the DC area. Quick coherence was a great go-to for me to just get into a coherent place, feel better, and once again, thereby just giving me clarity of mind to not let the stressors really get to me.
That people don't have to go to meditate or to be on their own or to get away from the situation. What I love about Heartmath tools is using them with eyes open. So when people are in and talking about the conflict between them, using the tools while their eyes are open, still talking, helps to really heal the differences or get to a place where the differences can be healed a bit more effectively.
And for me, that has been something I've taken seriously without the seriousness, but a commitment. I've made a commitment and intention to be aware of that, to do the spot checks, to practice these techniques, because I want to contribute love.
Signals go up into the brain and begin to open up the higher perceptual centers of the brain, so you begin to perceive differently. Things aren't as necessarily as stressful. Things aren't as confusing. Things aren't as frustrating or agitating, when you're in that state. And you're able to see into how to navigate life.
And actually, as you practice this, the feeling gets easier and easier to recall and to choose on demand. So we can live a more grateful, appreciative life without waiting for something external to inspire that appreciation, but live more in that heart-based quality of gratitude and appreciation more of the time, which improves our health, our relationships, our communications, our insight, our intuition. It has global benefits for us.
And all that happens very quickly when you use that quick coherence technique, which is simply this: heart focused breathing, and the activation of a regenerative uplifting motion, a heart feeling.
Enjoy the process. Our everyday life is dictated by emotions, much more than we can see or perceive. For example, can you imagine what it would be like if you took an exciting trip into an unknown and exotic country, but couldn't feel the exhilarating rush of excitement? What if you spent time with family or close friends, but couldn't feel the love between you? The ability to laugh or cry, to feel blissful or scared, is a source of beauty and adventure in life. We crave feeling because the experience of emotion makes life matter. It transforms our world from an objective, conceptual fact into a living, breathing experience. Emotions add texture to our lives. However, emotions can sometimes be very painful. Emotional problems are among the most difficult to deal with, especially if they're long-standing or traumatic. While the enigmatic power of emotions can enrich our lives beyond measure, it can create challenges just as easily. The intelligence needed to manage this potent inner force, using it for our highest good, has largely eluded mankind for centuries. It's not easy being human. We go through a lot of stressful situations in our everyday life, whether it's our work, our family, our love life, or our health. these scenarios that often enrich our life can also take a heavy toll on us. This may seem familiar to you. Take any one of these situations. Now, think about the negative emotions you usually feel when things get a little bit rough. You're most likely to feel stressed, pressured, angered, depressed, sad, afraid, or disappointed. That's okay. These emotions are a part of life. So, what do you do to manage these emotions? You might try to have some fun. So you go out to socialize. You watch sports. You get a drink. Perhaps you want to connect with nature. Or listen to some music. But as you may have experienced, these short-term solutions can provide enjoyment, but they are merely temporary releases from the debilitating emotions we can often feel. Do you see a pattern? Many of us go through life stuck on an emotional loop, relying on external resources which address the effects, but not the actual cause of our problems. Perhaps there is a better way. Through the eyes of the heart, we can begin to understand that emotions are not just reactions, and most importantly, that you do have the ability to choose your emotional state and not be a victim of life. No emotions we experience are wrong or bad. They are a part of life. However, it becomes obvious that some of the emotions we experience renew us and add quality to our lives, and others deplete us and rob us of vitality and enjoyment. Your body knows the difference. Every time you make an emotional shift, like from joy to sadness, anger to calm, love to anxiety, and so on, at least 1,400 biochemical changes take place inside you immediately. These hormonal changes are not fleeting. They affect your body for hours. Depleting emotions release excessive amounts of stress hormones into your system, like too much cortisol and adrenaline, affecting your health. Conversely, when we experience heart-related renewing emotions, your body produces regenerative hormones like the anti-aging hormone DHEA and the love hormone oxytocin. Renewing emotions increase our resilience. Stress accumulates, creating nervous system chaos and drains our energy, while renewing emotions and attitudes recharge our inner battery. We can learn to move from depletion to renewal by activating the power of the heart. As you can see, emotions play an important role in how you think and behave, and in your health and longevity. They are like our internal weather. They shape our perception of reality and influence the decisions we make, both in the short and long term, from what we decide to have for breakfast to which candidates we choose to vote for in political elections. By being more aware of the power that emotions have in our everyday life, we can gain better control and take charge of them. Emotions teach us a lot about ourselves. Sometimes they help us, at other times they get in the way. It can seem like we don't have a choice, but we do. It's not always easy, but with practice, it becomes easier than you may think. Let's do an exercise now to get a better sense of how you're experiencing emotions that renew or drain you. By using the inner weather report, you can begin to see emotional patterns that deplete you and those that regenerate you. By doing so, you'll get a better view of what needs to change. Emotions on the upper left are those that have a lot of energy associated with them. Are they draining or renewing? Ask yourself, what emotions do you experience that would be represented in the upper left quadrant, and how do they affect you? Here are some examples. The lower left quadrant represents emotions that are less energized but often very depleting. What emotions do you experience that would be represented in the lower left quadrant, and how do they affect you? Here are some examples. Now, let's look at the other side of this grid. In the lower right, we have emotions that don't necessarily have a lot of energy in them, but they are very renewing. What emotions do you experience that would be represented in the lower right quadrant, and how do they affect you? Here are some examples. The last quadrant is the upper right. Here is where you experience emotions that are regenerative and energized. What emotions do you experience that would be represented in the upper right quadrant, and how do they affect you? Here are some examples. As you can probably see, experiencing life on the right side is a lot more enjoyable, healthy, and productive than on the left. Ask yourself, how often am I living emotionally on the left versus the right? What patterns do you see in how you experience your emotions? Think about how life would be if you were experiencing more regenerative emotions more often. Life is made up of thousands of moments. What would your life become after experiencing many more moments on the right side of your inner weather report? Your heart's intelligence can help you get there. In the next chapter, you'll experience a technique that will help you move from the left side to the right side of your inner weather more often, from depletion to renewal, from old life to new life.
Okay, we're going to stop there. So, pretty interesting, eh?
Oh, it's so good. I do want to draw out something that I have heard differing vantage points on, just because I think it's helpful, and that is that we get to choose our emotional state.
Yes.
So I've heard both. I've heard that we have no control over our emotions, and I've heard that we get to choose our emotional state. And I wonder what you would say to this, Kim. Isn't it kind of both? Because sometimes emotions come in waves, and it's not like we have any control to like say, no, I'm not going to have that emotion. It's there. So we have to be in that. But then in the awareness of that, we can also, right, attune in some way and say, okay, here's this one, but I prefer to choose a different one or a slightly higher vibrational one. What would you, do I have that right?
Well, you make a very valid point, and I think that what you've learned up to this point from the Heartmath experience is that it's an energy management system.
Mm-hmm.
So our thoughts are primary drivers in our physiology. What we're thinking is, in fact, either depleting us or renewing us. We have, and I think this comes from Deepak Chopra, I think in excess of 50,000 thoughts a day. And I've heard that 85% of the content is the same as yesterday. So it's all neural loops. This is all neural circuitry. And so the originating thoughts, no, we don't really have control over. Have you ever had like a judgment and went, like, whoa, that was harsh. So we can't control what comes in or our perception of something. So much of it is just wiring, and, it's very easy to shift once you experience it as a low frequency emotion, a depleting emotion that doesn't serve if it's regret, frustration, fear, anger. And so that's why we do these practices, to be able to recondition our nervous system so that it's easy to be able to shift from these depleting emotions, and also not being a victim, because we can't control people, places, and things. So this gives us an internal locus of control, right? And again, we're going to go a lot deeper into how to take practical situations. They're going to go into another tool in the next series. So we'll be able to expand on this. I'm going to have a lot of fun expanding on this, actually.
Awesome.
Wrap here, and then tomorrow we will, I think, be able to get to the finale. And if not, we'll, like you said, we'll see where it goes, right?
That sounds great. Thank you so much. It's lots of great stuff to consider and play with. And I want to say think about, but maybe we don't have to think about it.
Feel
Maybe.
about. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.